Hey, good morning, options traders, and welcome back, everyone. Well, a good question that's floating around the markets these days, is Bitcoin a currency? Well, it was developed as a cryptocurrency, so a lot of traders say, well, obviously it is. But what I wanted to show in this video is why Bitcoin really isn't a currency, at least not yet. Now, this video leans a little bit more into the realm of economics, which are another course that I teach, usually not on this channel, but I think it's important for traders to understand that Bitcoin is far more a speculative investment than a currency. So why do I say that? Well, let's start off with what makes a currency. According to economists, there are really three basic functions of a currency, at least a good one. It should be a medium of exchange, should function as a unit of account, and should also be a store of value. So what is the medium of exchange? Well, what this really means is it makes transactions more efficient. So if you think back to the days before we really had currencies, let's say we're on a deserted island, you had to resort to what's called a barter system. And so I might say I've got coconuts and I want pineapples. You've got pineapples and just happen to need coconuts. How do we figure out how much they're worth? I have to be able to barter or make a deal with you for coconuts. You have to do the same thing for pineapples. So it becomes really difficult. And the biggest problem is what's called a double coincidence of wants. And that's just a fancy way of saying we need two people to coincide or to actually have what the other wants. And this is what makes it so inefficient. So let's say that here we are on a deserted island. I have something that you want, but in order to make a deal, you must have something that I want. And if we agree that they're of equal value, we can simply swap. That's a barter system. But the problem is I need to find somebody that has the thing that I want, and I have to hope that I have something that that person wants. And if we don't, we've got to put the word out to people, and it just becomes terribly inefficient to try to make transactions. So a medium of exchange is something that a currency does. If I don't have what you want, I can simply pay you. And then you can go out in the market and give cash to somebody else for something that you do want. So is Bitcoin a good medium of exchange? Sure. In fact, Tesla recently announced that it will start accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment. So yes, Bitcoin is a medium of exchange. What's the next one on the list? Well, the next one was a unit of account. What does this mean? Well, a unit of account just means that a good currency acts as a measuring stick, puts everything in a common denominator. In other words, how much is something worth? Well, if we have a currency, it's very easy to figure out. This one costs $1, that one costs $2, that one's worth twice as much as this one, because they're all valued in the same units. But watch what happens if we don't have a currency. Let's say that I know that an orange can be exchanged for 2 strawberries, and 1 strawberry can be exchanged for 3 apples, and 1 apple can be exchanged for 4 bananas. Well, here's a good question for you. How much is an orange worth in terms of bananas? See, now it's not so easy. So in this case, it would actually be 1 orange is worth 24 bananas. So maybe bananas are really plentiful, but you get the idea. It's not real easy to figure out what everything is worth in terms of other things. And in fact, if we had only 10 fruits on this island, we would have 45 different prices that we would have to memorize in order to carry out transactions. But notice if we have a currency, we don't have this problem. So using this example, if I know that an orange is worth $1 and apples are worth $6, I know that apples are valued 6 times as much as oranges. But see, the same thing is happening here, but it's not real easy to see. And so that just makes it terribly difficult to carry out transactions because people can't figure out what something is worth. So is Bitcoin a unit of account? Sure, it's measured in US dollars, so clearly passes that test. But now here's where things start to get tricky. What about a store of value? Well, what this means is that if you wish to defer some spending, a good currency must be able to store value. So bananas, let's say, would make a horrible currency. If somebody pays you in bananas, you've only got so many days before that currency is going to go up in smoke, right? It's going to be completely worthless. It doesn't store that value for you. But if we have a good currency, then if you have $1,000 that you receive today and you don't want to buy something, you wish to save it, Well, we know it's going to be roughly worth $1,000 in the future. Again, that's assuming it's a good currency, a stable currency. Now, yeah, there are differences with cost of carry and inflation that would have to be factored in, but for the most part, the value today is going to be roughly what it will be in the near future. It doesn't pose a big risk to store cash and spend it later. So does Bitcoin pass as a store of value? Sort of. Bitcoin can't be inflated, and that was one of the basic reasons that it was created. There will only be 21 million coins ever mined, and from that point, no more. See, that's not true for currencies. All governments inflate currencies. Now, fortunately for us, the US doesn't do it as badly as some countries, but Bitcoin can never be inflated. So on paper, it serves as one of the absolute best stores of value. But where does it fail? Well, if you have to ask that question, you haven't been following Bitcoin. Take a look at the volatility here. Now, if you own some coins and the value's going up, no harm done. But here's where it fails. Look at the volatility. Look at all of these pullbacks. So if you had $1,000 worth of Bitcoin and said, oh, I'm going to defer spending for 6 months and then spend it, it could easily get cut in half. In fact, as it did through here, that could happen in less than a month. Now, once all of these coins are mined and Bitcoin becomes a standardized form of payment across lots of different platforms, there's a real good chance you're going to see this volatility go away. But until that happens, it is a store of value, a good one in one sense that it can't be inflated, but it's a horrible one in that the volatility is so unpredictable. So until that goes away, Bitcoin should be seen as a speculative investment and not a currency, at least not yet. So for anyone who'd like to learn more about the art and science of options trading, please check out the Alpha Trader course, Strategy Lab, and a brand new technical analysis course, all at optionsatoz.com. Also, please join us on the Facebook trading group, Options A to Z, and you can find a link in the description below.